Knowing the cases I do, I thought it was a good, conscientious attempt on the part of Blatty and Friedkin to show what actually happens in cases of demoniac possession. Blatty, I'm sure, I knew him even before his senior year because I ran the Philademic Debating Society, the oldest debating society in the United States. And he was a debater, but he did not devote as much time to it as some of the other outstanding boys in his class. And a lot of the things he did were on the farcical comedy side. In 66 and 68, he wrote me letters. He said, I guess you've heard via the grapevine, I've been scribbling a novel or two. I'm about to embark on my first serious project. And the idea of Blatty being serious, I couldn't conceive that. He said, a novel dealing with the essential mystery of faith and with a case of diabolical possession and exorcism as the fulcrum of events. I recall that when I was at the Hilltop, there was such a case right around the corner. This book is going to require a ton of research, and at the top of my list is a need to interview someone, this is worth reading, who has actually performed an exorcism in what we may prudently judge was a true case of possession. Would you by any rare chance be able to recall the name of the exorcist in that DC case, or furnish me with a lead as to how I might get in touch with them? Well, that I did. Mm-hmm. I know, and I have a letter from Father Bowden to that effect.
Father Bowden was the exorcist.
Exorcist in St. Louis, the chief exorcist.
And if anybody saw the movie, he would have been the role that Max von Sydow played, basically.
Yes, the chief exorcist. So he did get in touch with Bowden at that time, and I gave him Bowden's name, you see, but suspecting that Bowden wouldn't talk because priests are more or less, they don't make an oath of secrecy, but it's understood they keep these things quiet for the privacy of the individual. So he says, the kind of detail I need is rarely found in literature. As a matter of fact, I find an almost total poverty of literature on a contemporary view of the subject. Everything available seems to go back to the year 10. Perhaps I'll have to resort to a trip east and a visit to the Library of Congress. But if you can save me the trip by way of a few leads, I'd be deeply grateful. What about you? Have you ever performed an exorcism that was attended by marvelous or preternatural phenomena outside of grading one of my test papers, that is? That's Blatty. Well, as I say, in a weak moment, I did say, yes, I'll help you, but then I was so busy, I never had the time to get down and do all this work to give to him. And then, too, when I thought over the type of thing he had done, I couldn't imagine Blatty doing a serious work. And especially, I felt a little loath to turn over such a sacred thing, a religious thing to him. And I was very proud of him when I read the book to see how well he did his homework. He had tracked down all church documents and cases he could and so forth. I might have hurt him if I had made it too easy for him at that time by giving him that document. Priests don't want any monopoly of this thing.
What's that? Holy water?
It burns! Oh, it burns! And it's a very distressful job to have to go through. Some priests are definitely afraid of it. They would like to see science take it over and handle it and leave us with the business of saving souls, you see. This is an affliction of the body, really. And so we would encourage scientists to study and discover the roots of these things so that we wouldn't be bothered with them, really. If, for instance, a priest undertakes one of these cases, he's advised that he shouldn't touch it at all unless he is convinced that there's a medical record, a psychiatric record, and everything else that shows that the case is hopeless from a scientific point of view. Only then would he undertake it. I learned a thing or two from Hans Holzer, who has performed, he says, 55 exorcisms. Holzer, unlike the usual line in the Catholic Church, says he's dealing not with fallen angels, demons. He's dealing with the souls of deceased persons who come back and possess a living person and annoy that person. So here is Holzer, who doesn't operate with a church ritual that professes faith in Christ, and yet he is dispossessing a lot of homes and dispossessing a lot of people. Obsession means I am attacked from outside. The furniture begins to move around the room. Fire will break out in the curtains, and yet 5 minutes later the curtains will be totally intact, you see. All these things will break out outside my own person, around me, to annoy me, you see. And they're very hard to live with. I'm thrown out of bed, pots and pans are knocked down on the floor. That's obsession, an attack from without. Possession implies that some evil, spiritual, malignant being gets inside me and suspends my consciousness and my free will, and he takes over my brain, and they use our tongues to speak.
You killed your mother!
Your servant.
You left her alone
Regan,
to die!
to
Shut up! I'll never forgive you!
The priests who have exercised, when they come out, they're so exhausted, and they've seen something diabolical and filthy, rotten, hatred of God and all that, and hatred of humanity for that matter, that the church will always keep some of the more sordid details, I'd say, from the media, because they accept to show that something supernatural, preternatural is at work. They serve no other purpose, some of this filth, you see, that comes into these cases.
Prince of heaven, to the depths of hell!
Fuck him!
Be gone!
Fuck him, Garrus!
From
Fuck
this
him.
creature of God!
I thought Blatty and Friedkin to show something invisible, preternatural here, the operation of evil forces and so forth, and they have to resort to things we can see and smell and taste and hear, and they do a pretty good job of that. And I don't think, for instance, out of that context of that movie, certain things would be considered obscene or blasphemous. But since they are trying to show the obscenities and the blasphemies that actually occur in these cases, I think they're perfectly justified in having those things in the movie, and the filthy words and everything else, because that's the way it is, man.
Lick me! Lick me! Strike terror, Lord, into the beast, thou laying waste your land. Let your mighty hand cast him out of your servant, Regan to raise him up.